chiropractors like to use. She had muscle stim. She had cryotherapy. Oh, I like that. You get that out of your refrigerator. Ice cube, put it on your head. Thermal therapy. Masseuse combo. Vitamins. Traction. Them things you hang up over the door, they hang yourself on. She had one of them. She had all them goodies. Now she's a minus 46. 18 months later, a minus 29. Is that better or worse? Does a minus 29 work? Huh? Minus 29 is better than a minus 46. Then the next time you get sick, we'll send you to the hospital and get all them good things. It's worse, isn't it? Okay, now she comes in our office. Look at that weight heading now. And I called the insurance company. May I take care of this girl? No. Because you can't prove that that trouble came from that accident 18 months ago. I said, oh, silly, silly person. We're not going to pay you, doctor. Ah, yes, you are. No, we're not. Yes, you are. I said, remember the crazy man? He's crazier. You're going to pay. The question is, sooner or later. If you pay sooner, it's cheaper. If you pay later, it's more expensive. Bye-bye. Hang up. Then why argue with people? We adjusted 6 cervical. 27 days later. 27 days. Now, we did bring the curve back nice dimple. But we still have about a 20-pound or 25-pound head here yet. But we make sure at least 50% better. But the curve is back. Look at the occiput atlas area now. See, now we have a true picture of it. See, back here, we really don't know what type of atlas we have here, don't we? Because it's halfway between occiput and atlas. The only thing we know that spacing is not what? We want to get at least the finger in there, don't we? So it's not normal, is it? But if you would ask me, Doc, is it going to be off to the occiput or to the axis? I really don't know. But we know now. We know now, don't we? Because the space now is at least 3 times as much on top as it should be at the bottom. So how's it going to be locked? No, it ain't. It's going to be locked in flexion. When you flex it, the atlas is going to stay on the axis. So that's locked in flexion. But you know what you're saying is true too. It's locked in the extended position. It's all terminology. That's why you have to understand when I say locked in flexion, I mean it's not moving up in flexion. And when it's locked in extension, it's not moving down in extension. See? Because this denotes how you're going to adjust. That's all this term is. Yes?
Did you choose C6 because of the flexion extension?
Yes. Yes. And I have the tape on this. I'll bring it in tomorrow. I have the tape on her.
When you say it's locked in flexion, is that the same as a superior lock?
Yeah. Superior locks are always locked in flexion. And they're locked between atlas and axis. See? Okay, now, what vertebra on here do we know still needs attention? This is 7, right here. This is 7. T1 is in big trouble. Any time that you have a good curve, which she has, but it doesn't sit on the center of gravity line, T1 is the culprit. Anytime you have a backward head loading, that's where C5 is moved beyond your center of gravity, you have an atlas or axis problem. See?
Question?
Yes.
Is T1 locked in flexion?
I've never seen it.
Well, on this one, since there's a big IVF, wouldn't that kind of say it's locked in flexion?
Well, it's moved back. And where you're going to catch it up is see, that is a good flexion hole there.
Yeah.
So when it comes back, it's not moving in its extension move. See? So you could say it's locked in flexion or extension, but I use these terms to let you know how you want to adjust it and where you're going to really prove what it is. When you look at this picture here, if you flex it and the hole stays big, it's supposed to stay big. So you wouldn't know if it was locked in flexion at all, would you? It's locked. It's locked in extension. Because when you take it back, the vertebra does not move into that hole. It's supposed to look this way in flexion. So that would be a normal flexion picture, wouldn't it, if all the holes was big? You understand why I say that?
Yeah.
I say it to what picture is bad. If the picture is bad in extension, then I call it an extension lock. In extension, them holes should all close. So if one doesn't close, you adjust the vertebra below the open hole. If they don't open in flexion, you adjust the one above the closed hole. So in other words, the vertebra that could be locked in flexion here is this. If this hole does not open up when we flex this neck, then we have a bad flexion picture. And we want a good flexion picture. So how are we going to get it? By adjusting the axis in extension? No, because there's no way to do that. You're going to adjust the axis in flexion. You're going to get underneath here and open this hole up. You see? But when a vertebra is locked in one position, it's locked out of the other position. Is basically what it is. You understand that? Do you understand that now?
So with T1, if you extend and the hole
Closes.
but if it doesn't close, then
It's locked in extension. It is not going in reverse. If your car is up here and it won't go in reverse, you don't say you're locked in high gear. You're in high gear. And if you want to go forward, you can go forward, can't you? But you can't go reverse, can you? Till you get it back there. And that first dorsal is going to be adjusted as an extension lock because it is not going through its movement in extension. It's not going through its movement in flexion either because it has already moved. Remember, I said you have to know what's moving, what's already moved, and what isn't moving. So if we're going to talk about this, first dorsal, it is already moved. When we look at this in the flat lateral, the first dorsal is already in the flexed position. So the car is already out of the garage. Now how are we going to get it back in the garage? We're going to get it back in the garage by adjusting it from the back.
and C7 would be a similar scenario, right? Because it has the same.
That's everything. Anything where these holes are open in extension, it's locked in extension. Anything that stays closed in flexion is either locked or what? If we have all the holes closed in flexion, which vertebra do we know sure is locked? If all these holes from here down are stay closed in flexion, which vertebra is locked? What's the rest of them? Compensated until proven different. And how would we prove indifferent? Unlock the axis, and then if one of them doesn't move, then what will we have to do? Go down there and move it? But what would we do if we got down here trying to move these right now? They wouldn't go anywhere. You would just be hurting somebody. The only time a person gets hurt with chiropractic when it doesn't have any place to go. When I get you over against that wall, and I try to put you through that wall, you're going to get hurt. Now you can stand this far away from the wall, and I can shove you all over the place. I'm not necessarily going to hurt you at all. See? Because you're not locked. So I can move you. I got someplace to move you. But once I get up against here, there's no more place to move you. So if you punch me now, my head's either going to try to move that block, you know, get the idea? You must have a place to move a vertebra. I have a lot of place to move axis, because when I adjust axis, what's to happen is everything above it. They move. Because there's a lot of place for them to move. Because the occiput and atlas will move as a unit. Because that's the normal movement when the axis moves. That's why if you have an axis, occiput, and atlas locked, how should you adjust them? Axis first, what second? What third? Same way the movement goes. Took me about 3 years to figure that out. Now see, when I move this, did I really move this? Didn't move at all, did it? Everything below it moves, and that's how that space comes back. See? It's a whole different concept in chiropractic, isn't it? When you start looking at how you really understand this spine. You realize how many chiropractors in this world don't understand the spine? They take x-rays just for money. They never look at them. Or they take them for pathology. Now see, and when you look at this, what space is smaller? This space is smaller, isn't it? What vertebra do you think is posterior here? Huh? 3. Now see, when we adjusted 3, look what it did to the atlas. It gave the atlas the perfect again, didn't it? Which means that this atlas was just what to the third cervical? It wasn't locked yet, was it? So this was a fairly fresh injury. Okay? Now if this wasn't caught in this stage, this would have locked right up in there. Okay? Now when I first looked at this, I would consider adjustments from the back. But after you correct this, there's no need. If this atlas is locked now, it's going to be locked in the superior position. Anytime the atlas is halfway, it is never locked as an inferior atlas. It's always locked as a superior. Not as a superior plus or plus plus, but it's... Now see, this is how a neck will change. Kenny, come up and fix that slide. That slide is definitely bad. Okay, now there's no way to tell it here, but there's a way to tell it here. Which vertebra do you think got the first adjustment, Lori?
2-1.
No?
No, third.
That got the last adjustment. Over here, Lori,
On the first one?
the first picture, what did I adjust there? I said, you can tell by what I adjusted there by looking at the second picture.
Oh, okay.
did it, didn't you, Kenny? Put them down in the same one, didn't you? Two in the same hole, didn't you? To get that out, you're gonna have to go to the next one. What you gotta do is go to the next one. Yes?
On that slide previous to the one that we were just looking at.
Now, why do you always wait till I'm by a slide before you have a question? Does your
Just
mind
kinda
work that
just-
slow or what?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. There was still a big IVF there at C2, C3.
Well, that's because it wasn't totally corrected. That doesn't mean it was still locked. Once you unlock a vertebra, you can unlock if they're cervical, and the instrumentation will everything show it's unlocked. You go back and put them on the x-ray right away, you won't be able to tell. Because it takes time.
So within a reasonable couple days or whatever, you could do
That's
it.
why you have a dermathermograph reading to tell you if you have to adjust again or if you leave it alone.
So then you do flexion and extension to see if that IVF closes down in extension or
But
stays
if the
open.
instrument readings are good, you don't use visualization. You wait and see if the instrument keeps changing. If it keeps changing, then you just wait. That's all. Okay, here we are. Kenny got you back in position.
Okay, what's the question?
The question is, now don't answer. What vertebra did I adjust here? And I said, if you go here and look at this one very carefully, then you'll know which one I adjusted here. There's no way to tell from looking at this what I adjusted, but there's certainly a way to tell from here what I adjusted. What vertebra needs adjusted here, do you think? Which other one?
Oh. Third?
Okay. So if I have to adjust C3 here, then what do you think I had to adjust over here?
Oh, I'm sorry. 6.
Yeah, see, you have to start thinking rules. If you see a C3, then you have to think inferior atlas, C6. The atlas is definitely not inferior, so you rule that out immediately. And if you have a C3 here, and you had a military neck here, what took this military out of here? Now see, if you'd have kept pounding C6 here, what would that have done to C3? Say that we'd have been a 3-time-a-weeker and we did a C6 and it felt good, and we started doing C6 more and more. What would happen to C3? It would keep going what? Worse and worse and worse. Because the farther you pound this back, the farther that's going to go that way. But see, what I'm trying to show you here is which picture looks the worst, the first or the second? Second one looks worse, huh? So as you're going back to health, it's possible for you to have one stage where the spine actually looks worse. But all this down here is better, isn't it? I mean, the curve's coming back here, good, isn't it? But there's a big hole here, there's a big hole here, and there's a big hole here. So what vertebra needs the next adjustment? T1. Now
So was
that,
I right?
huh?
So was I right or wrong?
You were right. You
Okay.
said 6.
All right.
But I said you have to start learning your rules. When you look at these pictures, these rules should come to mind. C3 and C6 subluxate together. Now people get how they subluxate. They get that mixed up with their mates. When C3 subluxates, that automatically throws the spine out of compensation. And C3 then mates up with atlas and sixth. See? It only makes up with 7 on a perfect compensation.
Dr. Chris, does it matter which one you adjust first?
Sure does.
So if you have third and sixth, first, third, and sixth.
You always adjust what you think came last first. C3 subluxates earlier in life than C6, usually. So, you go with what works. Now, if C6 had a lot of arthritis on it, and C3 didn't have anything on it, then chances are C3 came first, last, and C6 came first. But that would be impossible, because if you had the whiplash first, what would you have? C5. If you had the whiplash before a C3, it'd be C5. It wouldn't be 6 to begin with. So see, you can ask questions or state things that are untrue. They just don't happen. This is a neck. After 3 times a week, chiropractic care for 7 years. That's how good she is. Just absolutely perfect. Now you can walk through every one of those holes there. That neck is bead black and blue. And look at that atlas. That atlas is superior plus plus. Now if we were looking at this as a water hose, the water is coming up here and then it has to go that way. If you have a total reverse neck, the water would go in a circle, see? Here, we have it going in a straight line, and then it's going to go off at a 135-degree angle in either direction. This is from multiple double rotary brakes. Now that's what she looked like in 1985 when her mother brought her into my office. This was done in a Canadian's office who did about 300 patients a day, 3 times a week. You knew everybody by their first name, especially if you're going there 7 years, 3 times a week. Now, how anyone could be that stupid is beyond my wildest imagination. I don't even think I'd go to Laura Chadwick's office 3 times a week, unless my appointment was the last appointment of the evening. And then we were going to go for a dinner and a moonlight ride and all that stuff. Then maybe I'd go sit. But to go sit in her office, just to have her pull on my neck 3 times a week, she's not that good looking. And I don't know anybody that good looking. If you want to sit in a doctor's office 3 times a week, believe me, there's something wrong with your head. I have a screwdriver that'll help. I put it in your left ear, and I find a screw in there, and I try turning it up a few cranks. Now, of course, when I saw this, I licked my chops. What vertebra did I think I wanted to adjust? Which one? Hmm? That one right there is the one I was going after fine. And I adjusted her. And when I did, she jumped up off the table and she said, her mother brought her there. She said, "Mother, I hate you. This man is nuts. And I hate him too. And I ain't ever coming back here again. Take me home." So she went home. And for 4 days, she couldn't go to work. Because she slept. And she slept. And she slept. And she slept. What was she doing? Healing. 2 months later, she decided to reevaluate me. She said, "Hell, he wasn't such a bad guy after all, because I feel better now than I ever have in all my life. And I have more money to go shopping with."
Why do you pick C5 in that case?
Because I flexed her and extended her. Whenever I look at these, I'm not telling you which vertebra to adjust. What am I telling you? What do we suspect? What I'm trying to do is make you be able to suspect things so that when you do flex and extend, especially for people who's going to have visualization like her, she does not have to spend her time looking at things that don't exist. You get to a point where you know where you want to go. So when I see a neck, outside outside of atlas, what is that spine? It's in perfect what? Outside of atlas. It's in perfect compensation. When a neck's in perfect compensation, how does it subluxate? C5 first, 6 and 4, 7 and 3, first dorsal and axis, then second dorsal, but atlas didn't go. Everything else did, except atlas. Okay, anytime, that's why I would have picked that. Even if I didn't flex and extend it, if that was the only picture I had, why would I pick C5? Because C5 is the greatest vertebra in the world to make structural changes. There is nothing that can compare with it. Nothing. The closest thing to that, the next thing it can change more vertebra than the fifth cervical is, what do you think? What do you think, Kenny? What area do you think next will change more vertebra than C5?
C5?
Yeah, which C5 is definitely first.
C1.
PIs.
Oh.
PIs will change everything. PIs can change the pelvis, it can change the sacrum, it can change the lumbars, and it can change the dorsals. But it cannot change. See, the bottom part of a compensation can affect everything up to, but not include, the subluxation. So that's why I got such good results when I started doing PI pelvises. I was hitting the bottom end of this compensation, and I could reverse everything. Now, when you reverse 3 out of 4 of the curves, that's 75%, buddy. Patience is boom. But once I found out how to do it the other way, you know, you have to have lived through what I lived to appreciate this as much as I do. You know, my patients, when they come in my office, Dr. Pierce, you get so excited, I can't help but get excited. I'm jumping up and down, they jump up and down. I come in and say, boy, look at this. And then right away, they get happy. Excitement wears on to other people. Now, these guys have been practicing 10, 11 years. And that's a long time to suffer. I want nobody to suffer 23 years. That's crazy. I mean, I am so excited when someone starts out with a visualizer and stuff like that. Because if I was starting practice in the morning, I would have a visualizer. People say, well, you can talk. When I started with $2 an office visit with no insurance. And how much did I pay for my x-ray machine? $7,200. Now I get $35 a call. What's 2 divided into 35? It's 17 and a half. A visualizer only costs 10 times as much as my x-ray, but I'm getting 17 and a half times as much per call. What did I get for x-rays back then? $25 a set. That was for 3 cervicals and 2 pelvises, and that included your first 2 office visits. $25. What do I get today? $515 for my first visit. So don't tell me that you can't afford a visualizer. Okay? You know how you get one? You find somebody with a lot of money. And you say to them, no, you don't marry her. See, here's the trouble. And I'll always tell if anyone's going to be successful. I say, here's what you need. How much is the interest? Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Now let's pretend here. Let's pretend that I have a gold mine. And I have nothing to dig it with. And there's no stores. And Laura comes down the road with a shovel. How much is her shovel worth to me? No, it's not worth the damn gold mine. But it's certainly worth what? 40 to 50% of that gold mine. Because without her shovel, I have nothing. Now with her shovel, I have her and the shovel and all of the gold. See, because we're going to get married. See, if I have that much gold, she don't care how old and ugly I am. We're both going to have 2 jets, and we'll have a house in Florida and one in Spain and one in the Bahamas, and she'll be having. She won't even have to look at me. But that's how much her shovel's worth. Okay, in chiropractic, you have a gold mine. You need equipment to dig it with. How much is it worth? Let me tell you how much it was worth to me. I said to somebody one day, I said, I want to build a clinic. I want a clinic so bad that I will give you half of it. All the half of it, if you only come up with $6,000. Because I had a piece of property worth $6,000. And I could only borrow $22,000 off of that. Now how did I get the $6,000? I mortgaged my mother and dad's house. So that gave me a payment on that. Then I took that $6,000 and bought a piece of property. Then I took the piece of property to another bank and said, I have a clear title to this piece of property. How much money will you give me? He said, $22,000. So I went to a friend of mine. I said, look, if you come up with equal amount of money, I'll give you half of my clinic. $6,000 is all you have to come up with. Oh, he said, I think you're going to fail. So I went by myself, and I got that $22,000, and I started building the clinic. When I got done building the clinic, all my money was gone, and I owed 26 monthly payments, one for every working day of the month. 26. And when I had open house, and I had this beautiful, beautiful building, and my payment was only $186 a month. And I had a tenant for the basement that was going to pay me $400 a month. Now, if I have a tenant for the basement that was going to pay $400 a month, what was my... See, the way this lot was, this was ground level. But the road went down this way, and that was ground level. So my basement was actually ground level on the back street. Now, just listen to this. I want to show you what I did with that $6,000 that I borrowed on my mother's house. And I forgot to tell you. Before I could borrow the $6,000, I had to pay back the welfare $1,000 that my mother and dad had got during the Depression. This is what Fair America is all about. Here's 2 people. They have a little house that's worth nothing. They get welfare. Here's a guy who's a no-good bum. He has nothing. He gets welfare. I fixed this house up for my mother and dad. It cost me 10 grand to fix it up. I fixed it up. They gave it to me. But they were allowed to live it till they died. I took that to the bank to get money on it. The welfare department put a lien against me. But did they put a lien against this bum? Oh, no. Them. This is Fair America. The people who break their ass are the only people in this country that pays. See? So I had to pay that $1,000 back before I could get the loan. Then I got the loan and did this. Before I opened the clinic, I had a tenant for the basement, $400 a month. My payment was only $186. So that was enough money to pay all the utilities too. My clinic was scot-free for me. Now if this guy would have went along with me, then we'd have had to charge rent for the clinic, wouldn't we? Now if a basement is worth $400, then the upstairs would have had to be worth at least $600, wouldn't it? On his allows, that would have given us $1,000 a month in rent. It would have taken about $400 a month to pay for all the utilities and stuff. That would have given us a profit every month of $600, which we would have split. He would have been getting back $300 a month on a $6,000 investment. So in 2 years, he would have had all of his investment back and $1,200 to boot. Now, I've been in that clinic now 32 years. As of November 12th, it was 32 years. Multiply 32 by 3,600, and you'll see most of that for us, Brian, but that's just the beginning. That only was that way for 2 years. That was only for 2 years, really, but if we only did that for that many years, what is it, Brian?
Looks like, if I did it right, it should be 115,200.
Out of a $6,000 investment. But that isn't where we stopped. In 2 years, I built another building. And I rented that building to my attorney so that I could have an attorney right next to me to take care of my PI work. One of the secretaries rented an apartment in it, so I had the secretary for free. I didn't have to pay her no more. I gave her an apartment and all utilities. Then I got a beauty shop in the basement. Now let's go see what that building. Then I went upstairs and did all that stuff. But today, I get $1,550 a month out of the basement of mine. I get $600 out of the beauty shop. I get $2,000 out of the clinic. And when Chirk was up there, I got another $2,000 out of them. I got $1,000 out of Dermatherm, and I had an apartment there that was worth $1,000 a month that I lived in. So if somebody else owned it, I'd have been paying. So now add up that and see what much monthly income I get off of that building.
$8,150 per
A month. And I pay about $4,000 a year in taxes on it. I don't pay any utilities. The clinic pays the utilities for their part, and the post office pays their utilities, and the beauty shop pays theirs. So all I have to do is maintain the building. And so 8 times 12 is $96,000 a year I was getting out of that clinic building. Then I sold my practice, and I get paid $2,000 a week for the next 10 years. So out of that clinic, I get $16,000 a month. And it all started from a little house that was worth $1,000. Oh, and what's the clinic worth? The clinic is worth $1 million on the open market today. So that's how you do it. You just make everything multiply for you. Okay, 2 months later, she come back to the office. 1 adjustment versus 7 years of manipulation. Oh, backwards I went. Big surprise. There she is. 1 adjustment. Now who does she think's the greatest chiropractor that ever walked the face of the earth? But we still have 2 problems here. Who wants to tell me what they are? You.
T1.
T1? That's right. Isn't that something? 1 adjustment. Look what I did with her center of gravity line. How many pounds? That's about 3 inches. 40-pound head. Maybe a 2 or 3 pound extra head now. And what's going to bring that back? T1. See? That's how it's done. And you have to take necks like that and be able to make them like that. That's simple. This automatically comes. When you correct the posterior part of your subluxation, you have corrected 95% of your subluxation. And the rest of it will just come in line for you. And then we're back to the pelvis. Any questions? Turn the light on.
Would you repeat that one rule, please? When your gravity line lines up with the C5, you go to T1?
If you have a perfect curve, but it does not line up, then you have to go to T1. But only if what? T1 is subluxated. Okay? That's all.
And the other part of that, if the cervical curve is restored, and then C5 is...
No, if the cervical curve is restored, but it's not on the center of gravity line, it's usually a T1 problem. No, I didn't say nothing else. What do you have
Well,
there?
you had a second part?
It says C1, C2.
Posterior load, then C5.
Oh, I said if it's a posterior load, then it would be C1 or C2. That's if the curve came beyond the center of gravity. It's because your neck is like this, and it brings a curve out this way. If the curve goes back this way, it's usually C5 or 6. If it goes this way, it's atlas. Yes?
You know, 2 X-rays back, when you had the military neck and all the IVFs were open, wouldn't you suspect C2 because it's blocking everything and all the IVFs are stuck? You know? That's, if C2 is stuck.
If all of the holes are closed, all of these holes were what?
Open.
Somebody else had a question. Do you have a question? Who else had a question? Yes.
On that curve, when it was completely compensated except atlas, was that because it was subluxated or it just didn't have time enough to compensate?
It was subluxated. Wasn't it still subluxated after I brought the curve back? Anytime the atlas does not compensate to a reverse curve, it's because somebody, a chiropractor, beat the atlas too much. And that could be any way now. When I say beat it, I'm not talking about toppling it. I'm talking about rotary brakes, anything. You cannot keep pounding the same vertebra. You will kill that person. And that's what chiropractors hate about me saying. They do not want to hear that crap. They just think they can grab somebody. They have this special thing. Chiropractors are under the impression that innate belongs to them. That innate doesn't belong to them. You know who innate belongs to? It belongs to things. And innate don't give a damn what doctor's on the job, or even if you get hit by a car, it's going to try to take that concussion of force and use it to its best ability. You know, there's been a lot of people, subluxations corrected without coming to a chiropractor. I know a woman that had headaches all of her life. She had a little dog on a chain. He got tied around her feet. She fell over. She felt something crack in her neck, and she got well. One day, my brother-in-law came in the office. He had this sore pain in his hip. And I adjusted him. I said, now go home and rest. He went home, and he tripped over a chair, and he heard it crack. He called me up. He said, Dog, I just adjusted myself. Back in line. Jim Bakoven the other day. Jim Bakoven had a bad knee, and he slipped in our foundation up there. It hurt like crazy for a minute. When he got up out of the foundation, his pain was gone. So he owes his money to that foundation.
I've seen Jimmy up there. He was
I mean, these things happen. See? And a lot of chiropractic corrections are done by what? By accident. See, but you don't want to practice chiropractic by accident. You want to practice chiropractic by intent. You know, here's how innate is. Now you take me and put me on a deserted island with these 5 girls in here. Now the 5 leading New York doctors, if they ever go on a deserted island, they want to be there with bear aspirin. Now if I'm ever there, I want to be there with something bear too, but I tell you. We spell it different. I spell mine B-A-R-E, they spell theirs B-A-Y-E-R. See, so let's pretend that me and these 5 gorgeous, where's the other one go? Where's the other one? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 5. Then, here we are, the 6 of us. And someone brings this much food. And they say, this is all the food that you have for the rest of time. Now you know what them girls are going to say? Oh, Dr. Pierce, it's all yours. And I'm going to say, oh, no. Why don't you divide it 5 ways and don't give me any? You know what her innate's going to say? Well, how much is her innate want?
All of it.
How much is her one? Lynette's, all of it. Lori's, all of it. And even the gentleman that I am, I would want it all, innately. Well, what would we do educated? Educatedly, we'd think that 6 brains is better than 1. And who the hell wants to be there all by himself anyhow? I know, I don't want to be there by myself. If you die, I'm going to commit suicide. So, educatedly, we would divide it. And hope. And the 5 would probably pray. And I'd do something religious too. I'd take up a collection. And we would hope. But innately, we would all want it for ourselves. So when you think innate is not a selfish person, innate is by far the most selfish thing that ever walked the face of the earth. And your body is the laziest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. You have to educate me, make a difference. See, and when it comes to saving yourself, the only thing that I think would overrule innate would be motherly love for a baby, or fatherly love, or love for one of us for each other would make us maybe stand in front of a bullet for somebody else. But that's not innate. Inside, innate would be saying, what the hell are you doing here, you jackass? You know, move! But you would overrule it. You've overruled innate so many times, it's unbelievable. And every time I do, I get beat up bad. Whenever you get an impulse to do something, you know what you should do? Do it. Because if you don't, you'll quit getting those things. When the knock comes, you have to answer it. If you don't answer it, you'll get less and less knocks. See, I answer mine. That's the only difference between me and most other people. When I get an idea, I think about it. I don't think about golfing or flying airplanes or anything like that. Like today, a guy called me up when I went down there. He wanted me to buy some stock. I said, you know the only companies I buy stock in? He said, no. I said, the only ones that I can be president of. That's stocks. They think you're nuts. What do you mean? I said, you heard me. I'll buy stock if I can be president and chairman of the board of that company. He said, are you nuts? I said, no. I just want to make sure that the man who's handling my money is nuts. But you have to answer that thing. See? You answer it. And when you do, then good things happen. See, I believe that I was put here to be a chiropractor, not anything else. So that's what I do. I practice chiropractic. And I love to share what I know with you people. Because I can think of other good things to do, like being on a deserted island, just doing a seminar for 5 girls. I mean, oh boy. What do you think about that? I'll tell you what, girls, when we get the new place up there, I have a pontoon boat with a barbecue pit on it and everything like that. That's what we'll do. You girls all come in bathing suits, and we'll go have our seminar in the boat, and Kenny can teach the other part of the seminar in the nice round air conditioning clinic. Fair enough? Yeah.
I'll drop the vote.
No, you will do the lecture for these guys.
In your bathing suit.
In your face, if you so please.
No thanks.
But we're gonna go out, and while one of them's cooking steaks, I'll be saying, now that steak bone there, what is that? What vertebra is that? That looks like a T6. And what's that there? And this is the spinous process. And this is the transverse process, and this is half the body. And what's that white stuff right there? That's part of the spinal cord. It's in that hole. And what's that gristle on top of that? That's the angular rings of the disc. See? Yeah, I mean, boy, it'd be a great course. That's where we're going to have the seminar. Next year, I'm going to have teachers. And the students I'm going to teach are the female part of the class. I mean, it's time that I started getting the benefits. And these other guys did the work. Who the hell likes to stand up here drawing lines? You know. But that's the way it's going to be. Okay, take a break, and we'll get these x-rays ready. You know, we're way ahead of schedule. We're so far ahead of schedule, I can't stand it. You know, we've covered, beside what Kenny did, we've covered 3 sets of slides, just about. We are halfway through with slides. And we're going to look here at the extension. And not too bad. He has the first dorsal lock there. And his 7th is locked. So now he's had a lot of thumb moves in his neck in his time. Anytime you see dorsals all piled up like this, it's because of their thumb moves. This second dorsal is really bad. So his first, second, third dorsal needs adjusting on the left. Especially the second. Put a star by that. No pelvis on there. Now look at this here to begin with. Now his occiput moves. His atlas doesn't move. His occiput, that space is nice, see? Nice, see that? His lock is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and first is locked on extension. None of these are moving. Look how bad this is down here. Okay, so we want to do first, second, and third dorsal on the right, and we want to do 7th cervical from the left. Now make sure you write that down right. Now see, she has a pretty decent neck. Her occiput and atlas is in trouble, and her 4th cervical is in trouble.
Why'd you say 4th?
Because I could draw lines on that. In extension, good here. Now, there's a little bit down in here. That's a 7th cervical there, but the first dorsal is the spine is the back here. Now, I'll go over these again tomorrow. We'll go over all of these, and we can go through them slow. Now, hers is not moving all that bad. See, that pelvis is good. I thought she'd be PI, but she's not nowhere near as PI as I thought she'd be. Oh, see, that's done with 1 MA there. I mean, one MA. Now, see, her lumbars are not moving at all. Down here, these two. Either way. But I would adjust them on the left because they do move better this way than they do the other way. Is that all? That's the patient here.
Mine's on it.
Now see, we have all kinds of locks in her going back there. None of them are real bad, but they're all this minor. Now, is yours on here somewhere?
Yeah.
Dorsal dump with her, dorsal dump with her also. There you are, the invisible woman. Oh. Smart report. When analysis is in trouble, now see that nice hole, that's good flexion, that down here. Hers is gonna be an extension. Third, look at third. Fourth, especially third. Yeah. That's it. More. Look at this mess. Oh, hold it right up. This here first, your 7th cervical and 6th cervical need adjusted from the left, and your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd dorsal needs adjusted on the left. Now make sure you write it down that way. Now see, she has a pelvis that's all twisted, but yet it was in perfect alignment. We could turn, lay one side over the other. Maybe adjusted here. And that. Oh. I'd be scared to death if I had a neck like that. Obviously put an atlas, but see this flexion, that flexion is great, this doesn't. Let's look down in here for her trouble. Well see, apparently she's getting adjusted. But her third's in trouble, and her first is in trouble. Now see, her neck is real bad, but I think she's under somebody's care who's doing our work. Probably she's coming to our seminars, you know. Now, the 7th cervical needs adjusted from the left, and her 1st and 2nd dorsal needs adjusted on the left. The difference is, see, I'm going to adjust this way, and then I'm going to adjust these this way. Now, actually, the movement's the same. Isn't that a nice TV? I never work another day without that machine.
Earlier regarding
I was waiting, I thought I saw you there.
the plain film, this, looking at those indicators.
Oh, that's the way we used to do it.
Now, does this give you any additional information?
Well, certainly, number one, I get to watch all the vertebrae going, but the secret of this, I can do this 40 times compared to you doing that one time. So when I adjust a person, and I want to see how they're coming, I just run them right back and do it again. And then when that subluxation, like that girl moved from 6th to 3rd to 1st, I know it right away. I'll visualize a person when they stay with me for a week, maybe 3 or 4 times during that week. That's why when I'm done with the patient after a week, they go home knowing that they've been someplace.
But still, why couldn't you do it?
Because number one, how could you possibly in your right mind x-ray a person 4 times and give them all that radiation in a week, in a 1 week? Hmm?
Okay, well, I was reading this article on the amount of radiation. It's on the same order of magnitude.
Those pictures were taken with 1/4 of an MA. The only place where he did her with 1 probably, in her pelvis.
Don't you have to figure the amount of time that they're under the exposure?
Okay, well you take that in 1 minute, multiply by 1/4, what do you have? 15 MAS. Okay. Now what did I get for that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 50. Okay? You try doing that with hard copies.
When you were showing mine,